What impedes our growth is the belief that I can do it better than anyone else. That's the mistake, that second part of it. We're like, oh my God, no one can do as well as me. Well, no one else has had the opportunity to do it.
You're listening to the Profit by Design podcast, episode 1. You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question. What has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host Mike Bruno and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. Hey, Profit Designer. In just a moment, Mike Bruno and I will be sitting down with our guest, Mike Michalowicz. We caught up with Mike while we were all at Podcast Movement in Philadelphia. Mike is the author of Profit First, The Pumpkin Plan, and his latest book, Clockwork. Mike Bruno and I have had the privilege of working closely with Mike for years. Now, you may not know this about Mike, but he's on a mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. You see, he himself has experienced the struggles of entrepreneurship, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, and every book he writes is intended in one way or another to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. But not just financial poverty, also the time poverty and just the experience of living an impoverished life as an entrepreneur. Maybe you can relate. So when Mike gets here, we'll be digging into what is success really, and why do our customers and employees actually crave for us to be profitable? And Mike is going to set us straight about the one false belief so many of us buy into that sets us up to be forever chained to our businesses. I can't wait to dive in. I'm joined here with my other co-host, Mike Bruno, founder of Contractor Business Solutions and the Small Business Consulting Group. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing really well. Honestly, I have some mixed emotions because you've been able to spend 2 extra days at Podcast Movement, so I'm super jealous. But I'm super excited for our first guest, Mr. Mike Michalowicz.
Who acclimated you to the podcast movement very quickly. I was coming up the steps here this morning, and Mike was sitting there just chit-chatting away. He didn't see me. I bull-dodged him. I mean, I went as fast as I could. I threw a shoulder into him. I'm welcome to the podcast movement.
Yes. And Mike Bruno handled it really well. He did not take you down.
You were lucky. I think he's a little stronger than me. I think it would have been devastating.
So, Mr. Michael, I printed out your bio, but rather than read it, why don't we hear it from you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, my name is Mike Michalowicz. I'm the author of multiple books, but Profit First is perhaps my most popular currently. And I'm releasing a new book, Clockwork. And my life's purpose is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. I am a former and active entrepreneur myself, and I've gone through the struggles of it. And when I say poverty, I don't mean just financial poverty. Actually, let me rewind. I don't know if you know this, but the day you start your business, all of your friends think instantly you're a millionaire. I know, Mike, you started, you're like, oh my God, you're so rich. And they're like, Doc, you don't work at all. All you do is
kicking back by the pool all day
hanging
long.
out with your girls. But the reality is, we're not making money. Typically, we're struggling check by check, and we don't have time for our family and friends. We're impoverished. So I've lived that all too much. And my mission is to eradicate that, to fix that. So every book I write is to fix the financial poverty, the time poverty, the happiness poverty that entrepreneurs experience.
That's awesome. Because, the Profit by Design podcast is where we ask the big question.
Yeah.
And the big question is, what has your business done for you lately?
Yeah. So it's, it brought me here, right?
Yeah.
So it's, part of it is I experience a freedom that I never expected. And the coolest thing, I don't know if you knew, one of the actors from Seinfeld is here. Not one of the primary characters, but there was a character who, did you watch Seinfeld, Mike?
Yeah.
And did you watch it, Doc?
Of course. Okay. Every Thursday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Seinfeld, remember there was that one character, I think his name on the show was something Banyan. He was the nemesis for Jerry Seinfeld. He was also a comedian, and he would steal Jerry Seinfeld's jokes and do it on the show. I don't know if you remember this character. He ran like 6 or 7 episodes, but he was floating around here. And he has a podcast now. So I think what's so cool about that I'm experiencing from my own business is the ability to mingle with yourself, with people like him, interviewing. I've interviewed the founder of UGG Boots, spent a day with him, with Brian Smith. I've met entrepreneurs I never expected to meet. I've talked to guys that run hot dog stands and made them wildly successful. I threw out the opening pitch for the Savannah Bananas baseball game last year. Like, I am living some dream moments that I would never have had access to if I didn't do this business.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, I totally agree with that. Then one of the things I learned from you about the beauty of writing a book is that it gives you a vehicle to have interviews with industry leaders and influencers, people you would never have access to. And that's something that Mike and I are really excited in doing this podcast. That's why we're putting ourselves out there, is because we want that opportunity to have weekly conversations
Absolutely.
With business leaders around designing a sustainably profitable business that supports our lifestyles, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
You know
So,
what?
Mike, let's dig in a little bit.
Okay.
Tell me about this mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty.
Yeah, so you guys know my backstory, but maybe the people listening don't. As an entrepreneur, I had the good fortune of selling 2 companies and became a millionaire, a self-made millionaire in my early 30s. Thought I had it all figured out, and I didn't. In retrospect, it's interesting how much luck is not considered as a significant factor of success, but for most entrepreneurs, luck is a massive component. We all have been very lucky. We're born in the right country. We're born in the right circumstances. That our families in some way must have supported our entrepreneurial endeavors, even if they didn't get it, right? So that's a huge component that no one talks about, right? Your upbringing and your good fortune. Many of us have been in the right place at the right time. So you hear these extraordinary success stories. I wonder if Steve Jobs, for example, I know he's extraordinary, has extraordinary drive. He's extraordinarily innovative. But I wonder, what if he came around 10 years later or 20 years later? Would he have had that opportunity to start Apple Computers? I don't know. So I think luck is a major factor. And so for myself, my second company in particular was in computer crime investigation, computer forensics. We got the Enron trial. We were one of the major investigators in the Enron trial. If I started my business 6 months later, or maybe 10 months earlier, I don't know if I've been in the right place at the right time to grab that opportunity. But we got it, grabbed onto it, and it took effort to hold on to it. But that put us into this stratospheric success trajectory. That, in turn, made me believe that I knew everything about entrepreneurship when I knew and still know very, very little. So what I tried to do with my next business was I'm just going to just run a business using the 3 or 4 things I've done in the past, and that's going to work. And it was an abject failure. That brought about this awareness of entrepreneurial poverty, this perception of success, but this lack of knowledge and ability we have, and then set me on this path to be an author, to write books, to research out constantly what makes entrepreneurs successful, and give it to people in a very consumable way.
So you mentioned, the belief that you were wildly successful.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how you think most entrepreneurs, that kind of mindset could either help them or get them in trouble.
Yeah. So success is a very personal thing, but I believe there is a contemporary understanding or belief what success is, and it's associated to our financials directly. If we went around here, size is inevitably the biggest determinant of success. Financial size, but also size of following. So if we walk around this podcast movement and ask someone, hey, tell me about your podcast, inevitably they'll say, I got 20,000 downloads a month. I got 50,000. And whoever has the biggest number is the winner, the most successful.
Right.
Yeah, chest beating. Exactly. And the same thing is with financials. In the traditional entrepreneurial space, not podcasters specifically, if you ask them, tell me about your business, the number will come up. Their sales or the number of employees, which is another way of pointing to their sales. But pretty much any business owner will say, I got, 4 million. Oh, I got 6 million. You're the winner, right?
Right.
Ironically, profitability, health of the business, happiness don't even come up as a discussion point.
Isn't that crazy? That's what Mike and I talk about all the time.
It's bizarre. Like, how many people come up to you and say, how happy are you in your business? How come the happy guy or gal isn't the winner? So we have this established normal expectation of what success is. And I think it's a very negative and bad one. I think we need to make a stance and break free of that. And even though there's a societal norm that size is success, I think we need to define it. And so to answer your question, I think when we determine what success is for ourselves and live to that standard, success is a very happy experience. When we live to the societal norm of success is, I think it's very unfulfilling. And for many people, it's a depressing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of your books, one of your big books is Profit First. And, we're talking about success, and it's not just about the top line revenue. It's about what you get to keep as the entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm like laughing because,
And so the word profit is an interesting word. It's kind of one of those words that has some controversy around it. So on the one hand, we business owners get excited when we talk about profit because it's the money that we keep. On the other hand, when we talk to employees that we need to have profitable businesses and we need to be making this business profitable, all of a sudden business owners feel some sense of like shame or like they're doing something bad because maybe those employees think we're trying to make money off the sweat of their back. So there's that controversy. But then even last night when I'm sending out the email to our Tap the Potential followers about this Facebook Live, my email provider dinged the email as having spam in it.
Because it had the word profit.
It had the word profit. Profit is a bad word. Did you know profit's a bad word, Mike?
I do know that. I do know that.
It's a 5-letter bad word.
It's a 5-letter bad word, yeah. Isn't that a shame? It's a shame. Here's the irony. I think our customers thirst for our profitability. Now, they don't use those words. Like a customer doesn't come up to you and say, hope you're making tons of money on this, Mike. Hey, Sabrina, hope you get that new pool installed for your house. Congratulations. But a client, if we ask a client, do you want your vendor to be around for the long haul? Do you want your vendor not being distracted by financial woes and be able to pay their attention to you to serve you perfectly? Do you want to make sure when, I know you're in the construction space, when you're building a new building, do you want to make sure they've managed their assets properly and have enough cash that they can get the right materials for you and not cut corners? Of course, the customer's going to say, yeah, I want someone that's reliable, dependable, truthful, and is going to be around for a long time. Well, the things that support all of those elements are profitability. I've seen businesses that aren't profitable, they're dying. So what happens? They cut corners. They kind of stretch the truth a little bit about what they're doing. The customer gets compromised. So the customers want us to be profitable. They don't want us to gouge them. And that's where the people, I think, flip to the other side and why profit has a bad connotation, because I think it's associated with gouging. If I am so profitable that I'm taking advantage of the customer, that's not a win. Now the customer is not getting the value they could have received in the general market. So that's unfair. I think when people hear the word profit, they instantly go to gouging. When I talk about profit, I talk about sustainability. And I also know, listen, if you're my vendor and you're making profit and you're taking home money and you're living a happy life, I know that you're going to be happier at work, and I know you're going to benefit me more. I want you to have a very comfortable life. I don't want you taking advantage of me, but that's a misnomer. Profit is not taking advantage of someone.
So why do you think so many entrepreneurs feel guilty? I mean, why is it the feeling of guilt to be profitable? Right, which equals sustainability. But, it almost seems like, to your point, we don't want to necessarily portray high profitability to our employees or vendors or customers. But in reality, that's what everybody wants and needs. So what's the deal?
I'm pretty sure it's because good people, and I'm doing air quotes here, good people are associated with people who intentionally suffer. Think about it. Gandhi, right? Sacrificed himself. He's known to be such a good person. Did he do it for the money? Of course not. Mother Teresa didn't do it for the money. Mike, I asked you for a favor to come and check out my house. A good friend would do that for me, right? That's the words we use. You're a good friend if you're willing to sacrifice your personal time, your expertise and knowledge for no money because you're a good friend of mine. That's the ultimate sin. We associate goodness with self-sacrifice. Bull. Yeah, by the way,
oh no, we're gonna have to put the E rating on this.
Oh no, the first swear, your first episode. You're like, he didn't swear, but it's a total lie. It's such a shame that being good is associated with sacrifice. No. Well,
and that's really why we are doing this podcast, isn't it, Mike? Because we are trying to shift the focus from profit being a bad word to profit really makes life sustainable. and we want to be making intentionally profitable decisions to sustain life. I talk a lot with business owners around hiring and team building and employees, and I'm constantly trying to break down the profit shame, because those team members in those businesses need to understand that 85% of small businesses are paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And if you're a team member in a business, you want to work for a business that's profitable. Otherwise, you have no job security. So I really feel like this is an issue that it's not just for business owners, but it's for everyone who's involved in small business in any way. You want a business that you're involved with to be profitable.
You were talking about employees, right? So there's another shame associated with profit is I'm making all this money off the sweat of my employees, right? And if I show them that I'm successful, profitable, and benefiting from it, aren't they going to loathe or hate me? I think that is also a misnomer. Not everybody on this planet wants to be an entrepreneur. So many business owners think that, everyone wants to have what I have. But that's like saying if you're a flight attendant and you enjoy the work, that you believe everyone on this planet wants to be a flight attendant. I sure as heck do not want to be a flight attendant. I see what those people put up with. Just people act like animals at times. It's a shame. Like that's the ultimate customer service. But there's people who love that work. We love being entrepreneurs because this is what we do. It doesn't mean that everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Actually, Mike, you've had the experience on both sides. And I remember before we were doing the show, Mike's like, I've told my wife, I can't believe I get a paycheck to do what I love. And I don't have to worry about profitability. I don't have to worry about care for the employees, right? He's like, I would effectively do this for free. That's a joyous employee. And I suspect, Mike, from that vantage point, that you have a desire for your employer to be profitable so that you can continue to benefit. I think we are all selfishly motivated. You don't care how big my house is or what I have.
Liar.
But what you do care about is if you're my employee, Sabrina, if you're my employee, you care that I have enough money to secure your position, to pay you what you're worth, right? And a profitable business has to do that. I think we as a business owner have a responsibility to communicate that to our employees. If we communicate, we drive up in the Ferrari and our employees are suffering, that's the disconnect. They're going to loathe us. If we leverage profit to secure them the best life possible for them, just an example. At our offices, we share every quarter profit. Everyone's getting a nice profit bonus. Quarter ended about 23 days ago from us recording this. We actually go out on an event. We're going go-karting, and everyone is going to get their profit distribution that day. The employees are very motivated for the profitability of the company because they're seeing a direct benefit. They also realize that my primary use of profit is to bring sustainability to the business, which means happiness for my colleagues. The secondary benefit is I want to live a lifestyle as I define it, financial freedom. But they know my primary focus is care for them because I'm so dependent on them and them on me. And because I act consistently with that, they're very excited about the profitability of the company, I believe. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, that is key. You've written Profit First. You have your next book coming out when this episode goes live.
Right.
It's going to be out. So Clockwork, tell us how Clockwork builds on Profit First and Pumpkin Plan and all these other great books that you've written.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking about writing a book dedicated to this concept. So I started studying Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I know you know, like Doc, like inside.
I live Maslow.
Yeah. So I don't. It's newish to me. I've heard the term, but I really started to study it now. And so Maslow argues that there's different levels of needs humanity has. At the base level, we have some certain physiological needs. Like I need food, water, stuff to survive. We all do. And if there's a deprivation of any of those things, that becomes our focus intent. Like if you don't drive water for 3 or 4 days, you don't care about how's the networking going at this conference. What you care about is give me water. I am dying, right? So we revert to the lowest level. And it goes all the way up to self-actualization in the model he proposed. Well, I have a hypothesis at this point that entrepreneurs have a hierarchical need also. I believe the base level is actually sales, meaning that's the oxygen for a business. If there's no sales coming in, we will starve instantly of oxygen and we will seek out sales. The next level, I believe, is profitability. And to me, that's the equivalent of nutrition, food and water. Shamefully, I've noticed that many businesses that are starving to death, they don't have the substance of profit, actually go back to the sales level, which is oxygen, and try to gasp for air. So businesses that aren't profitable try to survive by breathing in more air. They're starving even more. And so they try to breathe in more air. So they're stuck at the base level. Well, as we go up this hierarchical needs of entrepreneurship, above profit, the next level, I believe, is time. Time to experience life as we define it. The ability to do what we want in life and in work. And most business owners, and I know, Mike, we were talking about this before, is your business, as you became more and more sales coming in, more and more profit, there's also a deprivation of time. You weren't spending time with your family. You weren't able to do the work you wanted inside your business. You were drawn to do administrative stuff. You were drawn to do all this other stuff. We weren't able to do what our heart calls out to do. So Clockwork, what I did was study what the process is for recapturing time. Time is the only resource on this planet that is not replenishable. We can replenish money, resources of food and water, all that stuff. Every second that ticks away will never come back again. And you two are sitting with me listening to this crap. Time's ticking away.
That's right.
So that's right.
We should stop this podcast now. This
is time well spent.
Yes.
So Clockwork is about not recapturing time, but protecting your time so you can spend it wisely, both in your personal life. But if you want to work, and most entrepreneurs do, to do the work you love to do within your business. That's what Clockwork is all about.
That is awesome. We have so many more questions for you, but before we get to those, let's take a short break and hear from our sponsors. This episode of the Profit by Design podcast is proudly brought to you by Contractor Business Solutions, the Small Business Consulting Group, and Tap the Potential, the home of How to Hire the Best and the 4-Week Vacation Program. Visit our website at profitbydesignpodcast.com to learn more about our sponsors and to catch previous episodes of the podcast. And by the way, while you're there, be sure to check out the conversation between Mike and I that 95% of entrepreneurs never have. We blow up the dirtiest little secret in the entrepreneurial world.
So, Doc, I want to put you on the spot. Give us some mindset tips. So, I'm an entrepreneur. What Mike was just talking about before, about just sustainability and profit and employees and guilt and having a business that's doing what I want it to do, and I want to have a job that I like to have and I wake up for every day. So give us 1 or 2 tips, dig deep, give me some good psychology stuff of, what I could think about, maybe some affirmations or just how to re-trigger my mindset to get on the right path.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite questions is to ask, Mike, what do you really want? What do you really want? And in terms of digging deep, it's not going to be your first answer. It's going to be the 3rd or 4th or 5th time that I ask you that question. And I asked that from my own personal experience. Years ago, I had a really good job that we were taking nice vacations and putting lots of money away for retirement, but it was sucking the life right out of me. And that was not sustainable. And I encountered life coaching, and in one of the books that I read, it said, just go sit somewhere and journal about the question, what do you want? And I was really skeptical. I thought, I don't think I can have what I want. I mean, I was in the total mindset of, this is my path in life. This, every day looks like the one before. It's going to be like this going forward. And so that skeptical part of me almost kept me from doing it. But there's this other little, healthier side of me that said, just give it a try, see where it goes. And I sat there and I journaled about that question, and I really let my mind think about it. And I created that in less than 5 years' time. And I was within getting up from my seat. I was on a different trajectory in my life by just asking that question, what do I want? So that's what I would say to our listeners. The best place to start. What do you want?
And journal about it. I'm a big proponent of journaling too. And I used to think that journaling had to be this regimented process. Like you had to write down like my goals for today. Here's what I accomplished. And a friend of mine came and said, no, just journal what's in your mind, your subconscious thought flow, and just write whatever. So it was almost like Sanskrit at times. It was like I couldn't even read my own writing, but I was just letting things out. And that's where actually genius, I think, comes out, where you just let your thoughts flow like a mind map and just scroll it out. And that's how I found to become an author what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So I'm going to turn the tables here, Mike, and put this back on you.
Sure, absolutely.
So you've made some major life transitions just in the last couple of months here. And I know you put a lot of thought into it. You weighed different things out. What were some of the criteria that you were using as you were making those decisions that might be helpful to our listeners who are
facing similar decisions?
For the last 5 or 6 years, I've actually had 3 different businesses. One is the building remodeling company, and then I started 2 separate consulting companies. The building remodeling company just wasn't giving me what I wanted. And going back to your question, what do I want? It just fell short. And it didn't fall short from a profitability perspective or a sales perspective or, a quality or work perspective of what we were producing. It just wasn't fulfilling some of my own personal needs. So I did think long and hard about what I wanted to do in the next stage of my life. And I decided to keep the 2 consulting companies because I love working with small businesses, and I am implementing the Clockwork principles.
Nice.
And Mike, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about that. But the third and biggest change was I decided to go work for a very large commercial construction and real estate firm. And it allowed me to fulfill some of the gaps that I had just working with a larger team, working with a higher level of professionalism and just more cerebral activity for me, which is something that I was missing, just kind of running my own business since I was 18 in that remodeling space. But that, and going back to journaling, what Mike was talking about, when I first started journaling years ago, I would write things down and I would get frustrated that maybe I wasn't achieving them, or I would look back on it and say, what am I even writing here? But if you consistently do it, month over month over month or quarter over quarter over quarter, when you have just now a compiled notebook of all these ideas and information, when you start to look back over a year's time, or you look back over 2 years' time or 3 years' time, you really start to see how you've grown. And there's a lot of personal growth that comes from that. So, I'm a very big proponent of writing ideas down. And if it doesn't make sense today, maybe next week or the week after, it's going to make some sense.
It's interesting. This goes back to what you mentioned earlier on, like defining success. And it was interesting. You said I was profitable. The business was running appropriately, your own business, but there was something not fulfilled. I think this is a successful move because you didn't live to the societal norms of success. You had that. You lived to your definition of success. So kudos to you, man. Kudos to you.
So you said you wanted to dig in some more with Mike on Clockwork. What questions do you have for him?
Yeah, so Sabrina and I we've had the opportunity to sit down with Mike a couple times now and go through some of the high-level methodology of it. But if you wouldn't mind sharing just, super high-level, some of the tips and tricks and kind of the system behind it.
Yeah, so the subtitle of Clockwork is Design Your Business to Run Itself. So what I outlined is 7 steps, and we don't have enough time to go through all of them, so I'll kind of bullet point through it. The first thing is the realization that what I call the I can syndrome. Most entrepreneurs think I can do everything because in the beginning you have to do everything in your business. So we do the accounting, we do the actual service work, we do the sales calls and everything. We prove to ourselves I can do it. What impedes our growth is the belief that I can do it better than anyone else. That's the mistake, that second part of it. We're like, oh my God, no one can do as well as me. Well, no one else has had the opportunity to do it instead of you. So anyone that comes on new is not going to do it to your standard because you're the only schmucko that's been doing it. So the first thing is to get out of our own mindset is that it has to be limited to us. One other element is we need to get the right people in the right places. I know, Dr. Sabrina, you focus on this, hiring the best. You got to bring in the right talent. My belief is what most entrepreneurs do is they focus on the wrong type of talent. They try to bring people in with skill set as opposed to cultural fit. So we need to have cultural fit. And then there's other steps in between, but the most extreme but critical move is ultimately what I call the 4-week vacation. And the 4-week vacation is this. I suggest that every entrepreneur listening to this podcast, if you really want to be free of your business, schedule a 4-week vacation. Get away from your business for an extended period, a total disconnect. Because every business goes through all of its elements in 4 weeks. Collections, losing a client or gaining clients, losing an employee or gaining employees. There's all these different elements that go on. If you can remove yourself and have the business run itself with you gone, you successfully have a business that runs independently of you. And the goal is to declare that 4-week vacation now because it is the impetus or the catalyst to make sure you get all that stuff in alignment. Final thought is when you do go away, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to come back. There'll be bumps and bruises. You won't go out of business. If you plan for this well, you won't, but there'll be some bumps and bruises. Those are the things you need to fix before your next 4-week vacation.
Awesome. I know we have a lot of listeners who are excited about the 4-week vacation. We have some from our retreat who've made the 4-week vacation pledge. They've done their test. So shout out to our 4-week vacationers who are working on this actively. Mike, I so appreciate you being with us here today and helping us kick off the Profit by Design podcast and do it right.
Oh, my Lord. It's been a blast. Can I do a self-promo real quick?
You want to do a quick self-promo? You go for it, Mike.
Okay. So thank you. So I know some people are interested in Clockwork. It just got released as we're recording this. It's available at Amazon. It's Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. And you can also go to my website, which is MikeMotorbike.com. I found out no one can spell Mike Michalowicz, so you can go to my website to get more free stuff. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Mike Motorbike.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. And for those of you who've listened to our episode 1, we are going to just keep learning and getting better here. So please join us over in our Profit by Design podcast Facebook group. And you guys give us some feedback and join our conversation. What do you want and how are you designing your business to be sustainably profitable?